Okay, let's go ahead and start, and we'll review some items, and then go from there. I have my cube here. Remember, I can click over here, and I can if I do an A for then select this, I can add another cube. So if I do an add mesh and choose another cube, so you got two cubes now. Remember, if you leave this one um, highlighted and you do that, then you have attached them. Now I'm going to delete that. So I'll do an X for delete. I'm going to right click this one, do an X for delete. Okay. Um, Actually, go ahead and do a file new, and then do a reload startup file. So we're back here at our first cube. Over here on the left-hand side, we really haven't talked about this too much, but you see your first tab here says Tools. And down here in the Edit, you see it says Duplicate. If I click that Duplicate, and it's also Shift-D, then you see how it creates a separate cube if I start moving my mouse? And I can click over here, and now we got two cubes. If I did Shift-D again, we got another cube over there. Shift-D, Shift-D, and we got a bunch of cubes. Much easier way, if you want to dump on 50 cubes, instead of sitting there and doing that add over and over, you can use the duplicate. Now, each one of these is separate at this point. Such if I go in edit mode now, you do this, choose object mode, choose the edit mode. If I grabbed a corner here and did an E for extrude, then another E for extrude. You see how it's just working off that one cube? So they're separate. They're not attached at all. So when you did the snowman the other day, you could have had one sphere, right? And then Shift-D, move it up. Shift-D, move it up. And you very quickly have your three spheres. And they would have been attached. Because I don't remember. What was it you had attached? Was it the snowman on yours? Wasn't one of you, didn't you add an object and attached it because I didn't tell you to unselect the object before you added it?
Oh, yeah. That was me. Because I had the monkey. I was trying to do something and
Oh, okay.
it added it on to the core of the monkey.
Yeah, see, I probably even wouldn't help you there because you didn't duplicate it. You just created a different object. Now I'm going to do a file new, just start over. Reload that. I'm back to my cube. You see there's a next one down. It says duplicate linked. So if I choose that, move it over to the side. Now if you do A for unselect, nothing selected. Now if I right click this cube, you might think that if I did a move, like a G, and moved it, you might think it moves the other one, but it doesn't, does it? So you might be sitting there saying, well, how are they linked then? Well, if I go into edit, if I choose edit here, and I right click one of the vertices, and I do an E for extrude, and I go up. Do another E for extrude. Go to the side, another E for extrude, go here. What is it doing? Doing it to both cubes, right? So that's how they're linked. They're not linked necessarily by movement. They're linked by changing its shape. Good on that? Okay, I'll do a file new again. And start over. What do you think delete does? Yeah, deletes your selected objects. Probably easier to delete, click OK. Probably easier to press your X. I'll do a Control Z to undo that. I have this one. Now I'm going to click over here. I'm going to do an A to unselect that, and I'll add the monkey. Now see the join. If I put my mouse over it, it says join selected objects into an active object. So if I have my monkey chose and I right click on the cube and I click this join, now if I do an A to unselected, if I right click the monkey, you'll see both of them get selected. And if I do a G for grab, they move as one. So joining something is different than linking. Linking implies what we've looked at so far. It implies that when you make edit changes, it applies it to all of them. Okay, I'm gonna start over. Do a file new, reload startup file. I'm gonna delete that, so I'll do an X for delete, and I'm gonna do an add mesh, and I'll choose the monkey. Now I'm gonna rotate it so I can see the face, and I'll zoom in a little bit. And that's our monkey. Now over here, you see there's a smooth option. If I click the smooth option, you see it smooths out the edges. Does that look like a better monkey now? It does, doesn't it? If I click flat, it takes it back to your flat view. Now I'm going to delete the monkey, and I'm going to add a cube in. So I do an add mesh and cube. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, rotate it so it actually looks like a cube. Now there's a translate option here, and you see it's G for grab, R for rotate, S for scale. This is what we've been doing over and over. So if you want to rotate something, you press R, and then you move your mouse, and you can rotate it. Now, while you're rotating it, if you do your right mouse click, it'll cancel. It put it back to where it was. If you do a G for grab, and you start moving it, you can move it wherever you want, up, down, so forth. If you do a right mouse click, it again cancels. And if you do an S for scale, and you try changing the size, and you realize you don't want to do it, again, you can do a right mouse click to cancel out of that. Now, if you just do a left mouse click, it'll save your changes. We good on those tools over there? Okay. Now I'm going to start over. File new, reload that. We got our cube here. I want to maybe make a whole bunch of cubes. Remember that Shift D for duplicate, or you could click this button. So if I do Shift D, I haven't moved my mouse at all. And now if I do G and then Y, it'll move it along the Y axis. So I do GY, and I can move it along that. And then I'll move it about right there, right smack up against that. And then I'll click. Now I do Shift D, and then I'll do a GY to move it along the Y axis. And as close as I can get it right there. And then I do Shift D, GY. Move it there. And if I do Shift D, GY, move it over here. And one more. Shift D, GY. I'll move it over like that. So now I've created a kind of a wall of cubes. Um, we're going to take a look at later in the course where you can snap these together, kind of like they're magnets. So when you get close to each other, they smack up against each other. Because are these exactly next to each other? Probably not. I'd have to rotate a little bit. Even then, it still wouldn't be perfect. Okay. Everybody good with moving it exactly along the axis? Now I'm going to hold down my Shift key, and I'm going to select all of the cubes I just created. Now, if you try to do a Shift D here for duplicate, and now you do a GX to move it along the x-axis, I'll try to move them as close to each other as I can now. You notice it duplicated all 5 of those cubes, and then I moved it along here. I can again do I could actually select all of them now. So when I duplicate it, I'll duplicate 10 more. So if I do hold down my Shift key and I'll right click these other ones, and I'm going to do a Shift D for duplicate, and then I'll make sure I do a G and I'll choose X so I can move it along the x-axis. That's probably as good as I'm going to get. It's not too bad, actually. It might have did a little bit of snapping together for it. You, again, can rotate it as you go on. If I did another Shift D and then did my G along the X, like this. Now over on this side, if I do another Shift D, GX, and get over like that. Now I'm going to give you an assignment a little later on today, and the assignment's going to be to build, and it doesn't have to be like the original. We're going to make a 3D representation of it, but there's this game where you've got a character here and jumps down, and it's just a bunch of cubes. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Pango or Pingo or I'll kind of draw a picture of it. Well, let me very quickly show you. We got some more of this we're going to look at, but if I click all these, and we're going to look at very fast ways to select them here. Not today, but so I want you to get used to this. It's kind of like you build a pyramid. So I think I got all those middle ones. So what do I need to do? Shift D. And which way am I going to move them? Along the X? Or what is it? Is it Z? Let's try Z. So I do GZ. And I go up. Like that. So now I can choose the inner ones again. Hold down my Shift key. Do my Shift D again. Do my GZ. Go up. And I didn't put enough original cubes on the bottom. You have to plan it accordingly, right? So it's symmetric. So go up. Our goal is to end up with a single cube up at the top, where all you're doing is selecting the middle ones. And then I'm going to have you animate it. Create your own character, and the character you'll have jump from level to level until it gets to the bottom. So now I'm going to show you some more tools that might help with that. But does that make sense? Okay. Now we're going to do a file new. Get rid of all that. Start with the original cube. I'm going to duplicate that. So I'm going to do a Shift D. I'm going to do a GX2. And then you left mouse click. Now if I trying to see which one's my X. Okay, there's my X. Maybe I didn't go far enough. No, I guess it was a smack up against it. Didn't do what I expected. But that's okay. Now I'm gonna undo that. Do Control Z. There. Now let's do a Shift D again. Do GX3. What this does, and then you can left mouse click to save it. What this does is it moves in an exact measure. So it's no longer moving it to see how close it get. Now what was confusing me, and I guess I forgot this, is I thought each one of these grid lines was one unit. Which means if I moved it one, it should have been inside this cube, shouldn't it have? But obviously I remembered that those grid lines incorrectly. So when you shifted it over one, then that's why it was flush.
It's almost Shift D2 that one. That's why it was open more than not inside of it.
What did I do?
You told us to do Shift D2.
Oh, I did. Let me try it again. Good thing the weekend's about here. Okay, Shift D G X2. That's what the order. Now Shift D makes a duplicate. GX says, hey, I want to move it along the x-axis, and 2 moves it over 2 units. And 2 units appears to be just right, doesn't it? Now, what does that imply your total cube is distance-wise? 2. Yeah. So if you want to create a perfect where they're smack up against each other, that's how you do it. Now, if I select this one, and I did Shift D for duplicate, G, and then I moved it. Let me right mouse click. Try it again with okay. Shift D, G, X, and I'm wondering if it'll let me do -2. Let me see. -2. It did. It went the other direction. I did not even touch my mouse I left mouse click. I keep forgetting that. I did not even touch my mouse at that point, did I? Probably if you did enter, it probably saves it too. Let's go over another one. If I did Shift D, GX, -2, and press enter, yeah, it does. Shift D, GX, -2, enter. Shift D, GX, -2, enter. Over on this side, I could do Shift D, GX2, enter. Shift D, GX2, enter. Do you see why scripts would be nice? Little programs you could put in here, programming. How about if I had to create 1,000 of those? Would it be kind of tedious? Yeah, especially if it didn't follow a pattern. If it followed a rectangular pattern, you could easily get around that. Okay, now if I did another Shift D, G, X, move it 2 units, enter, get like that. Oops. Yeah, I did enter. Never mind. Okay. Now, if you right-click these, you see they are separate. Do you even see any little seam between them? No. What that means is either they're smack up against each other, or they're overlapping. But when I right-click on them and go back and forth, I can see that they're smack up against each other. Now, okay, I got these. I'm going to hold on my Shift key and right-click each one. Now you have to know which direction you're going. The Y is your green. So now if I do a Shift D and I do what am I doing? GY2. Look what I forgot. I didn't have one of my cubes selected, did I? Okay, so I'm gonna hit escape and I'm gonna hold on my Shift key and try to select that missing cube. There it goes. Okay. So now I do Shift D, GY2, press enter. Shift D, GY2, enter. Shift D, GY2, enter. Shift D, GY2, enter. Going the other way. Boy, this might be challenging. How many do I have to go back now? 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, I'm going to go back to my original and select it. Was it negative 12?
Yeah.
When you got to undo, it's not like a big deal. You don't go back far enough, then you just do that. Okay, Shift D, GY, and I'll put -2. Again, you can, did I do an enter? Yeah, I did. You can select multiple rows. So Shift D, GY, -2. And I don't know what I did there. Control Z. Okay. Shift D, GY, -2, enter. Shift D, GY, -2, enter. Shift D, GY, -2. And Shift D, GY, -2. People that do animation for a living, that's why they love those shortcuts. That's why they got them all over the place. Is because if you sit there and right-click the mouse and choose all the menu items, it'd take you forever. Now down here under your select, by the way, I can do an A to unselect everything. Under your select, there's a lot of different options here. There's A for deselect. You notice that there's a circle select. Select items using circle selection. If I choose that and start moving my mouse around, see how it selects those? So I can choose multiple ones. There is a way you can increase the size of your circle. If I use my mouse wheel, I'm not sure if you can see that on the screen. You see how it increased? So now if I hold down and start moving around, I can very quickly select a large number of them. And then at that point, you could duplicate it or whatever. I right mouse clicked to get out of the circle select. So now if I did a Shift D and did GZ and then 2, all of a sudden I moved them up like that. I could do an A for unselect. Wait a minute, I got a left mouse click. Why do I keep forgetting that? A for unselect. If I did my C for circle again, I could choose sum here, and then right mouse click to get it out of that. Do a Shift D, GZ2, press enter, and all of a sudden you're getting an interesting pattern of things you've got selected. Notice it didn't duplicate these, even those little dots on them, right? It's because I didn't have all the vertices selected, so that's why I didn't do that. Okay, I'm going to do a Control Z to go back to my flat. Okay, do an A for unselect, so I'm back there. There's a lot of other select features available. That was circle select, border select, inverse. So if I select something, so if I have this selected, if I choose inverse, that's kind of a nice feature sometimes. You choose the inverse, it chooses everything else except for that one you got selected. And now if I did Shift D and did GZ2, enter, that's bizarre. I must not have had it selected right. What it should do is select the inverse of whatever you got, so everything else except for that. Random. I never ever used that. But I suppose if you select random and choose random, and then you could do a Shift D. And GZ2. Wrong way. But that's okay. I'll press enter. Now, if I right-click one of these cubes in here and I do an X for delete, do you notice that it still leaves the rest the same, isn't it? If I did choose this one and did an X for delete, this one X for delete, X delete. I'm not doing that right, but guess I have to actually select it. Yeah, what is it doing? Building a maze type, right? So if you were wanting to bring something into a game with a certain pattern, you could sit here and design this, cutting out, first you make a bunch of cubes. And if you're real clever with the duplicating and so forth, you can very quickly build it and so forth. Now, you can zoom in here. I'm not very good at working at that level. But if you had real fine cubes, then maybe you want to zoom in so you just were looking at a little piece. If you got these broke down into many cubes, trying to do it from the upper level is kind of hard, isn't it? So you need to zoom in so you can work with it. Okay, I'm gonna. That's probably about enough about that part. Select all by layer. We haven't talked about layers yet. Select all by type. We haven't talked about all these different types yet, but you can choose different types. So let me start over. Do a file new, reload startup. And we're back to our cube. Now over here on the right hand side, lots of useful information here. We really haven't talked about some of what this is providing us. But there's a one here that looks like a cube. It says type of active data to display and edit. So if I choose that, and then you got your location of the object. There's a little arrow to the side of it. I have trouble clicking it sometimes, like now. If you just type inside it, Then you can do 3, and that'll move it over to this position. Oh, it is. These are 1 units. I remember correctly. Guess I do need to get sleep. Look at the center of your cube. What did your center of your cube move? 3 units. Yeah. So if you got something and you want to put it back to the center, there's another way to do it, but this is a very easy way. Just come here, type in your location 000, and that puts your object back. Now there is a way to change the center of your object. Like if you have some real weird object and you want to specify the center to be something different, you can do that. Notice you got your rotation. Let's say you want to rotate that 45 degrees. I don't know if this needs to be in radians or not. Let's do that.
Nope.
Did it move 45?
No.
Yeah, that kind of looks like 45, doesn't it? So it moves 45 degrees. This is along some kind of axis. What was that? Rotation and Euler's. I assume it's in alphabetical order. I assume this is X, this is Y, and this is Z. But it doesn't really say that. Oh, down here it does. X, Y, Z Euler. I guess if you want to change it to a different scheme, you can choose these. Can't even say that word. I say that. Quaternarian? W, X, Y, and Z? So you got those 4 rotations. I couldn't even tell you what that is, to be honest. That's new since I last used Blender. Okay, I'm going to go to X, Y, Z again. And again, change that back to 0 to put it back to where it was. Scale is the same way. This is nice if you're writing something where you want to scale it automatically. A lot of times you write utilities in these. And this has a programming language called Python as its backbone. Maya, you've heard of Maya with animation. It has Blender or Python as its back language also. People write scripts with them. I haven't went out and looked for this, so I don't know if it's a good one out there now. But they're kind of fun. Blender, Python script, city generator. Let me show this if it isn't too loud. This is a city in this video here that was generated with like a Python script. City generator attempt. I better look at that one. Let's take a look at this one. This is a city that was automatically created with Python script. How long would it take you to create that by hand? Too long. that might be a 6-month project, creating all that and getting the detail and so forth. So people go out there and they write these scripts so you can generate a city. That's a beauty of these tools is when you combine the programming with the tool, then you can do things like this. I don't know if there's one we could download or not. We won't do it today because I'd have to play with it. And that sounds like something that would kill my recording also. Yeah, they're very intense. I have played with them before. Python script city generator. Um, Scene City. Scene City is easy to use generator automates. Okay, 100% Python add-on will work anywhere Blender does. So cgchan.com. These are the cities it builds. Yeah. Think of the detail involved with all that. Building a tree and trying to do the texturing. Um, Now this one isn't free. That might be worth buying. $76, maybe not. I'm cheap. um, but at $76, a lot of money when you consider what it does, the amount of time you'd have to spend to get this to work. Yeah. Um, Build terrains, so you can build a terrain automatically like this. For some in some 3D packages have a terrain builder built in, so you can use that. And then in some cases, you want to build an external tool and bring it into a 3D game. This is obviously not a 2D idea. I don't know, and I wish I could remember. It might have even crashed my machine if I put too many. You got to have a lot of RAM and a lot of processing power. Probably a really good graphics card too, in order to handle some of that. We're going to see here shortly. We're going to create a movie file, an animation, and we're going to see how slow it goes. So you're going to be surprised by that. But yeah, there's probably even some free ones out here that aren't as good. I wonder if there's a tree generator.
Just kind of mess around about it too. 300,000 vertices, but it's probably really slow.
Is it?
Going further.
Here's one to build here's a Python script for a tree. Now, of course, you don't want to sit there and write your own if there's not currently no text in this page. I guess they didn't finish it. Create sapling tree in Python. Okay. I'm looking for somebody's create and put out there. Here's a searcher, install it in a Blender. Here's somebody that's written one. Now I have used these generators before. You tell it how many like leaves or how many branches you want and so forth, and it generates you a tree. So it may create a very basic one like that, or do they have a more exciting one? This one might just be a very basic one. A lot of math behind some of this. This is uses various algorithms to come up with it. How to build this tree here. Okay, enough about that. Okay, so we got this. I want to build an animation. So I'm going to start over just so I make sure everything's brand new and I don't get any junk from what I've been playing. I'm going to create a real exciting animation. I'm going to do a G, and I want to move it clear over here to the left, and I'm going to do it with the keys. Now, if you look at where your center is right along the 0, 0. So I'm going to move it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 places over. Now, I always have a real hard time when I do this figuring out which way is positive, which way is negative. But, you don't have to duplicate it. If you simply do a G and then choose Y and then choose probably -7 and then enter, it'll move it exactly over that way. If you're creating an animation is such that it shouldn't be a little bit off. You're looking for symmetry in a lot of different areas, and so having it perfect like that really creates a better animation. Okay, so we're going to do an I for recording the location. Now, if you do I and then you press L, that'll record the location. You don't even have to touch your mouse. Now, without touching my mouse, I could even move it to where I want. I want to move it back along the green, which is our Y. So I'll do G, Y, and how many units you want to move it? 2. So I'll put 2 in and press enter. Now I'll do another I, and then I'll press L for location. Except for what did I forget to move? Timeline. Yeah, that doesn't work if you don't move timeline. Okay, let's try it again. I'll do a Control Z to get me back to here. Just to make sure, I'm going to do an I, location, L, and now I'm going to do my timeline. I move it to 20. And now I'll do my G, my Y, 2, press enter. I'll move it to 40. What did I do wrong there?
The location after you moved it?
Could have. Let's try it again. I'm going to move it. G, Y, 2, press enter. Now I'll do an I, choose L. Okay, move it to 40. Obviously, forgot some kind of keystroke. And then I'll do my G, Y, move it to by 2. And then I'm going to do enter. And then I'll do my I, L for location and record it. I'll go to 60 and I'm gonna move it up now, which is my blue, which is Z. So I do G, Z, and I'll move it up by 2, enter, and then I'll do my I, L for location, move it to 80. And I'll do my G, Y, 2. I got something wrong. Do escape. G. Got that selected. G, Y, 2, enter. Did something. I do my I, L for location. Is this making sense on how to record your locations? Okay. And now I'm going to do a G, blue, which is Z, down 2. So I do down 2, negative 2, enter. And then I'm going to do G, Y, positive 2, and enter. And now I'm going to do my location. So this way it won't be so blocky at that point. So now I'm going to do a I location. And I'm going to choose 100 and I'm going to end that. So I do E for end. So if I run my animation, you see how it when it goes across, then it goes up, but then it smoothly goes down. So if you don't want that choppiness, then you move it 2 different directions. You get that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop that. Everybody get the...
How do you make it go down? I did something wrong.
How you make it go down is you go into wherever you are in your timeline. Like if I'm right here and I want it to go down, I come over here and I got it selected, and then I do G, Z, negative 2, and enter. And then you do your I and location again. So then it goes up like that, goes down, then goes down even more. I'll go ahead and pause that or stop it. Everybody get an animation of some sort? Now, over here on the right-hand side, we want to make sure the camera is chose. And mine is chose by default to begin with. Yours probably will be too. And there's lots of different options here. You see there's an output. If I choose the output, and then scroll down, it asks me for a folder name. Now, I was looking at this earlier, just to refresh my memory, because it's been a while since I taught computer animation. It's asking us for a folder name, and I wanted to dump it on my desktop so I could clean it up. But I've screwed up in the past where I did this, and I created an animation, and I put it somewhere, and I didn't put it in a subfolder, and it put like 500 files on my desktop. that was fun going into File Explorer and cleaning all of those up. So we're going to change it to a particular directory. So right-click on your file folders down here, and go to Pictures. Now we want to then go to this PC. So you click this PC, and we want to go to our desktop. So double-click your desktop. Now here we want to create a new folder. You can right-click over in this white space, or you can click this one here that says New Folder. Either way. When you do that, then we're going to give it a name. We'll type Blend, or whatever you want. So this is where we want to point it to, just to make sure if it creates any temporary files that we can easily clean them up. Okay, so we go back to Blender. We're down here in the output, and I want to choose that little folder to the right of it. Good Lord. Look at all these ones I created earlier. It still creates a gazillion images. 250 files it created. Like I say, I wasn't testing. See, it's pointing to your C temp. That's actually fine, isn't it? You know, we don't want temp anyway, so we'll leave that alone. So go ahead and click Cancel up here in the upper right-hand corner. So that's good. Now we want to create our animation. You see, if you may have scrolled down, it keeps going up on me. But down here in the output, you see where it says PNG? Choose that arrow next to it. It pops up like this. Now I need to do some research to see how to put MP4 directly on here. There is a way to do that. But let's choose AVI JPEG. And now, up here at the top, if you scroll up, you see there's a button that says Animate, or Anima. I assume it's Animate. If you click that, it says Render the active scene. That was actually pretty fast, relatively. Is everybody good on that? Now go back to your File Explorer, so you can right-click on it if you close it and choose Pictures. I'm not sure why it hangs up when you just click on it. This PC, click your C drive, and then go in your TMP. Now you got a lot of different things here. You probably want to browse through it. You can sort this by the type. You see the view up at the top here? And then you can choose, not type, what am I talking about? I'm thinking about details. So view details. And now if you click by date, It'll put the newest one up at top here. And you see it says 823, 222. And I got an AVI that was created. If I double click that AVI, you should see your animation. So at this point, you could upload that to YouTube. Proud of your cube going across like that. I suspect Facebook probably allows AVI also. Did we get an animation created? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and close that. And I'll minimize that window. I may need it again. Now I'm stuck here. All of a sudden I can't get back to where I was. My regular editing screen. Over here on left-hand side, if you choose, if you see where the bottom of this window is, I don't know what it looks like. Little orange thing with 2 arrows. If you choose that, you can go to any of these windows. Specifically, the one that takes us back is a 3D view. That takes you back to your editing. So if somehow it pops up in a weird place and you're wondering, well, how in the world did I get back? That's how you get back. And then you're back to your cube. Now, if I come over here, besides AVI JPEG, there's AVI RAW, frame server. I did the FF MPEG here, and that works just fine too. Here's a video I could play in Windows 10. Now here's just if you're rendering and you got just the file format you want to specify. But we'll talk more about that later. Everybody good on creating an animation? Okay. Now, if I animate that again, or maybe better if I go over here and play the one I created, so I don't have to sit there and wait for it again. Can you see all the animation? No. Part of it is gone, isn't it? Over here, we got our cube. Up here in this corner, and you may be in a different corner on your screen, you'll see something. I'm not sure what that's supposed to be. A rectangle with lines coming from a point. This is your camera. And if I keep rotating it, your camera is pointing at a certain part. So you can, we're not going to explore this too much right now, but you can move this. So I can, I have this selected. I can do the right arrow key here, move it back. I can do the blue, move it up. Green, move it that side. I say up and down, but it's along those axes. And I have to remember how to do the view by camera. Let me see it. Maybe it's view cameras, view active camera. There's my active camera. Did I move it in the right place? Maybe. If I play the animation, I probably did it worse, didn't I? Well, how about if I did a S for scale? See if that affects anything. Doesn't affect it. G for grab. I thought I could scale that. Then I move it like that. Now, again, if I rotate this, I can get my camera. And then if I did G for grab, I can move it further out. And now if I did my view and did my view by camera again, where's it at? Cameras, view active camera. Now if I did a G for grab, I can move it and see it like that. And now if I did my play animation, now, well, no, now it's not everything, is it? So I need to move it over a little bit. What if I did a G for grab, if I could move it dynamically? There. That's decent. Does that make sense how to move your camera so you can see more of your animation? We're going to see that you can animate your camera. With your animation, you remember your location, you can move your camera. They do that in a movie, don't they? You know, as the character's moving forward, the camera's going with it. You've seen those effects where you have a character sitting there and the camera rotates around it? You can do that. We're going to see how to do that. This is just the very basics, what you can do with the camera. Okay, so at this point, I can just do my view and, or just move it, I guess. Probably the easiest way. We're also going to see that there's a, oh, right up here. Boy, my eyes are. If I select this right here, this is your light source. This is what allows you to see. If you got rid of your light source and you'd animate it, create an animation, you wouldn't be able to see anything because it's dark. There's other light sources you can put on there. There's an add a point. You can add the sun. I really like the sun. It makes everything really bright because that's what the sun is, right? So like if I chose a spotlight, see if I do an add on the spotlight, it adds a spotlight. Now is my spotlight pointing at my animation? No. So you can do an R for rotate. You can do a G for grab to move it. And you can put a spotlight on your animation. Now, I don't remember if I have to turn the spotlight on. Let's just do an animate and see if that changed it. I'm not sure if it's any brighter. I might have to do the settings on it to turn it on to see it better. I don't know. Is that any better? A little bit. Everything's gray, so it's hard to say. I mean, it's a lot more meaningful when you have different items there. Okay, I'm gonna go back to my 3D view. Now the assignment on this is to create what I was talking about, like a pyramid going up, and throw some kind of character on there. You don't have to spend a lot of time on it. It could be the monkey's head. I'm fine with that. And then take your monkey's head and have it go down to the bottom of the pyramid. Does that make sense? Okay. I was going to have you do create the AVI also, but since we only got about 19 minutes left, I won't do that. We'll go ahead and stop the recording. Let's see, Shift F10.